Good morning, dear children. We can continue with the topic respiration in organisms. What did you feel if you close nostrils and mouth tightly? Feel suffocated. If we close our nostrils and mouth tightly, we soon start feeling uneasy and cannot hold our breath even for 1 minute. This shows how essential is breathing. We cannot hold our breath for a long time because breathing is essential to remain alive. We can live without food and water for many days, but we cannot live for more than a few minutes without air. This is because air is necessary for breathing. How can we define breathing? Breathing is the process by which air rich in oxygen is taken inside the body of an organism and air rich in carbon dioxide is expelled from the body. Different organisms have different organs for breathing depending on their structure and oxygen requirements. The breathing in human beings takes place through the organs called lungs. The taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body is called inhalation, and giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. It is a continuous process which goes on all the time and throughout the life of an organism. The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as the breathing rate. During breathing, inhalation and exhalation takes place alternately. A breath means one inhalation plus one exhalation. Would you like to find out your breathing rate? On an average, an adult human being at rest breathes in and out 15 to 18 times in a minute. So, the average breathing rate in an adult human being is 15 to 18 times per minute. Women breathe slightly faster than men. Breathing rate of a person is not constant always. The breathing rate of a person changes according to the oxygen requirements of the body. The breathing rate of a person increases with increased physical activity like exercise, running, weightlifting, etc. When the breathing rate increases, greater amount of air goes into the lungs. When more air going into the lungs, the blood can absorb oxygen at a faster rate. Thus, faster breathing supplies more oxygen to the body cells for producing more energy. During heavy physical exercise, the breathing rate of an adult human can increase up to 25 per minute or even more. For example, if a person runs a distance, his breathing rate increases. Running makes a person breathe faster because faster breathing rate supplies more oxygen to the body cells for the speedy breakdown of food for releasing more energy required for running. It is a common observation that an athlete breathes faster and deeper than usual even after finishing a race. This is because during the race, the leg muscles have produced extra energy by doing anaerobic respiration. By breathing faster and deeper, The athlete is giving back oxygen to the muscles which it could not give earlier at the time of running. Whenever a person needs extra energy, he breathes faster than usual. The breathing rate in children is higher than that of adults. Children breathe about 20 to 30 times per minute. Let us learn how do we breathe. Normally, we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called a diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. Breathing involves the movement of the diaphragm and the rib cage. When we breathe in, two things happen at the same time. One is the muscles between the ribs contract, causing the rib cage to move upward and outward. Then the diaphragm contracts and moves downwards. Both these increase the space in the chest cavity and make it larger. As the chest cavity becomes larger, air is sucked in from outside into the lungs. The lungs get filled up with the air and expand. During exhalation, that is when we breathe out, ribs move down and inwards, and the diaphragm moves up to its former position. This reduces the size of the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. The breathing movements in our body can be felt easily as follows. Place one hand on the middle of our chest and the other hand on the abdomen. Take a few deep breaths and release them. We can feel the up and down movements of our chest and abdomen caused by breathing in and breathing out of air. The size of our chest increases during the process of breathing in of air because the chest cavity becomes bigger. Different people can expand their chest by different amounts. We can measure the maximum expansion in the chest size as follows. First, measure the size of chest with a measuring tape while holding the breath. Means after exhaling normally. Then take a very deep breath. Hold the breath for a while and measure the size of the chest in this expanded position. The difference in these two readings of the measuring tape will give the maximum expansion in the size of the chest which can be brought about by us. We can understand the mechanism of breathing by a simple model. Take a white plastic bottle, remove the bottom. Get a Y-shaped glass or plastic tube. Make a hole in the lid so that the tube may pass through it. To the forked end of the tube, fix two deflated balloons. Now cap the bottle. Seal it to make it airtight. To the open base of the bottle, tie a thin rubber or plastic sheet using a large rubber band. To understand the expansion of the lungs, pull the rubber sheet from the base downwards and wash the balloons. Then push the rubber or plastic sheet up and observe the balloons. Did you see any changes in the balloons? Now tell me, what do the balloons in this model represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? Here, the balloons represent the lungs and the rubber sheet represent the diaphragm. The space inside the plastic bottle represents the chest cavity. When we pull the rubber sheet downwards, the space inside the bottle increases, lowering the air pressure inside the bottle, and the air from outside rushes into the bottle. This shows the action of diaphragm during inhaling of air. When we release the rubber sheet, the space inside the bottle decreases. Air from inside the balloons goes out through the tubes, due to which the balloons get deflated. This shows the action of diaphragm during exhaling of air. The action of rubber sheet in this activity shows how we inhale and exhale air during breathing with the help of the downward and upward movement of the diaphragm. Let us learn what happens to the air which we breathe during respiration. The only difference in the inhaled air and exhaled air is that they contain different proportions of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor. You know that 78% of the atmospheric air contain nitrogen. But the proportion of nitrogen gas in the inhaled air and exhaled air remains the same because it is neither used up in respiration nor produced during respiration. We will now discuss what causes change in proportions of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor in the inhaled air and exhaled air. First, oxygen. The air which we inhale contains a higher proportion of oxygen. This oxygen is used up in the breaking down of glucose to release energy. So the exhaled air which comes out after the process of respiration contains a lower proportion of oxygen. Thus, exhaled air contains less oxygen than inhaled air. Okay? Then carbon dioxide. The air which we inhale contains a lower proportion of carbon dioxide. During respiration, when oxygen breaks down glucose to release energy, some carbon dioxide is produced. So the exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide than the inhaled air. Then water vapor. When glucose is broken down by oxygen during respiration, water vapor is also produced. That is along with the carbon dioxide. So the exhaled air contains more water vapor than inhaled air. Now see the amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor in inhaled air and exhaled air. Inhaled air contains 21% of oxygen, 0.04% of carbon dioxide and a little water vapor. Exhaled air contains 16.4% of oxygen, 4.4% of carbon dioxide and a lot of water vapor. It is a common observation that if we exhale air on a mirror through our mouth, then a patch of moisture is formed on the mirror surface. This is because the exhaled air coming from our mouth contains a lot of water vapor.